go-go was one of those wonderful things in DC because it's so local to the 202, 703, or 301 area code. And so many punk rockers I knew had no problem with go-go. Like Trouble Funk, oh yeah.
You know, the horns were great, the bass was the lead instrument, and the drums that just went on forever.
The beat became just as important as the song.
The go-go scene was a big influence, I will say, because it was totally independent, indigenous form of music to DC.
Everybody was smiling. It was, you know, I think the black kids were like just going, look at them kids jumping up and down. It was like a goof. And then the white kids were just doing the butt or whatever.
It's kind of funny to say that go-go and punk joined together because they really didn't. You know, the go-go people were never really interested in punk, but the punks dug the go-go.
Like the first time we met Henry, the first time we met Ian, the first time all these different people, when they would come from DC, they'd start telling us about this go-go scene. And at the time, you didn't really hear that stuff down here. You know, it was definitely, it's almost like the New Orleans brass band stuff with all the kids doing it there.
Listen up, we got the DC groove.
I have to say that time especially, it was just not a welcoming place for a white teenage boy.
And one guy walked up, he walked past us, and as an aside, he went, y'all crazy. And once everyone understood that we know where we are, we know the odds, but we're still here. We paid our money. We're here to see Trouble Funk. And it's almost collectively, the entire crowd went, nice.
It reminded me of early punk rock, just these throngs, everyone moving in the same direction. It was a great collective, it was a great energy, and the music was awesome. And I still love it. I cannot believe it isn't the soundtrack for, you know, the entire world.
I always wanted to play Trouble Funk, and I was like, we could do a show, Trouble Funk and Minor Threat. So that was the first show. That was the first, the go-go punk extravaganza, and Minor Threat's last show.
The big boys were awesome, and the Minor Threat came on, and right from the get-go, something was wrong.
I don't think it was meant to be a farewell show or their finale or anything. It was just that it was getting to a point where they were starting to have a lot of people disrespect them, and when they played, it was just so out of control. It was really sad.
I don't remember being a particularly, I wonder if maybe people's recollection's a little bit sepia toned, frankly, because I didn't think of it as being such a sad night.
I just remember not having a really good time, and I don't think anything sounded right, and I know I didn't enjoy myself. And it was just kind of a weird show in an empty department store, you know, a condemned department store, rather.
I suspected in my heart, I was like, this is going to be the last show, because we just were fighting too much, and I was sick of them.
Playing those songs on stage with them in front of any audience was absolutely incredible. And being off stage was not very much fun. They really didn't get along.
We fought all the whole time. I mean, as kids do.
I got very tired of being a band that either was preaching about don't do this, don't do that, or just perceived as that, and that definitely caused some friction in the band.
And then they quit. I remember I came home, there was a note saying, we broke up the band.
There may have been a note. I will accept that there was a note, because that's something that Lyle and I would have done.
Yeah, so then I said, fuck you can't break up the band like this. We had to have a meeting and break up together. So we had this meeting, and they laid out their demands. I said, I reject your demands.
And I think that our demands were that we wanted to be a more commercially viable band.
now with Minor Threat breaking up, we just really didn't know what the future was at all.
Punk rock had become bigger in general, and the music scene had stopped being this sort of predominantly insular little local set of friends at the core of everything.
That's when the pit wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't a good time. It wasn't people falling off and their friends catching them. It was a lot of aggro stuff going on. You know, people dancing in, you know, people thinking this is the way I'm supposed to dance, with my arms pounding, you know, anyone in front of me. That's where the whole thing turned on its head for me.
So-called slam dancing, whatever, that had become a behavioral ritual. It had nothing to do with music. But almost more problematic was that it had become a mask for violence.
I remember a show at the Wilson Center where we were playing, and some skinheads were hurling abuse at Monica while she was singing, and I just jumped out from behind my drum set right in the middle of it and jumped down in the crowd and challenged them to fight. There are a lot of people now who would pretend like the DC scene was not at all misogynistic, that it was all kumbaya and we all just loved each other and we were all accepting. But the truth of the matter was, it was a boys' club.
As far as their women's place in creating radical music, I was fully in embrace of it. But as far as the realistics of how it expressed itself in our little world that we were creating, I was a little bit dull to the implications of how we were conducting ourselves.
When it started out, I really felt disrespected. I really felt like I wasn't taken seriously because I was just a girl singer. You know, I had a song about rape in Madhouse, and when I would bring that up and I'd say this song is about rape, I'd have the kids in the audience screaming, "Fuck you."
They thought, "Oh no, we're not sexist." And they had to take a look, because if so many of us women were saying, there's something wrong here, we're noticing these differences, we are not getting the encouragement and support that we need. And how can we change things on this bigger level if we can't change things right here in our community?
In terms of the way women or girls were treated in this scene, like, first of all, we were teenagers. And teenagers did stupid things, no doubt about that. It's like people are trying to figure out how the fucking works. That's the way it is. And people do things in that process that are ungainly, for sure.
As far as animosity or some kind of juvenile behavior towards women, you know, well, at that point in time, we were pretty much juveniles, so who's surprised at the behavior?
I think a lot of these kids were sort of somewhat pre-sexual. I mean, I think they were sexual, but they had not had, they didn't get laid yet. And as soon as they did, they kind of like, I think the scene changed.
I arrived in August of 1984, which meant Bad Brains, not only had they moved, but they had broken up. Minor Threat had broken up. What was around was a skinhead gang.
Like in 1984, there was like problems all around the country with skinhead kids. At this point, I had been a fighter, you know, until about early 1984. I think it was around 1984. I remember just talking to some skinheads and saying, like, I go, why are you doing this? I said, because that's what you do. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, violence begets violence. It's so obvious.
And then, of course, there was this whole street punk, kind of what was called derisively the drunk punk scene around DuPont Circle with lots of runaways. Some of the skinheads hung out there. There was anti-gay violence going on, queer bashing as they called it. There were lots of drugs. It was really dark. It was really depressing.
there. There was tons of violence all the time. Tons of skinheads, tons of idiot drunk punks.
I hear people say like the scene died. I think the love and the actual like camaraderie died because people didn't, stay focused on the music.
And there was a point where I think a lot of the people who've been around for a while just got this overall feeling like this just really sucks. This is not fun. These are not the type of shows that are fun to play. They're not really the type of shows that are fun to go to.
It's always that careful what you wish for. What we were dealing with there was a huge influx from the mainstream. People coming in from the suburbs. We were out putting out albums, flyers, we wanted people to buy them, and then they showed up and everybody was like, oh, well, I don't know if I want this. Not these people.
We were writing songs for us and our friends and playing shows where we knew everybody who was showing up. And by that point, we didn't know these people anymore. And by that point, we started writing almost to make fun of the scene and to have fun with the scene because it wasn't our scene anymore. It was just the scene. And hearing about all these problems and all these infightings and all these opinions coming out and what we should do and what other people should do and what was right and what was wrong. And we would just stop doing any of that. We wouldn't dress in the punk rock uniform. Well, Stab never did.
And I decided to be like David Letterman of hardcore. Like I would just be as sarcastic as humanly possible. And it'd be just like, here's another like new song, but like every other GI song, it's slammable.
I mean, it's weird to me when people talk about punk rock in this kind of evangelical terms, like it saved their life or it changed their life, because it's not very punk, to talk about it in those ways. But it's unequivocally true. Like I wouldn't, there's times when I think like, wow, I didn't even know how to like talk to people. It was a complete 180 from my understanding of the world prior to, going to shows.